Huo Qubing is finally in Rise of Kingdoms, and is all the hype about him being a new meta field commander actually going to net out? Well, join me today as we test out Huo Qubing with all of the different cavalry commanders that you might want to run him with. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms gameplay episode from your very own Shappy Gaming. Today, we are going to be testing Huo Qubing, or at least I believe that's how you pronounce his name. If it's not, let me know in the comment section below. I always appreciate the corrections. So, first things first. We knew that Huo Qubing's skills were going to be what they are. General of Agile Cavalry with the largest direct damage factor of any other commander in the game, as well as he has a number of other awesome skills. Now, some of these do vary depending upon how you are playing in the game. As you can see here, outside of Alliance territory, you get certain buffs, as well as there's a buff for if this commander's troop has not been garrisoned in a building for at least 30 seconds. And one of the things that I really wanted to see is how this actually manifests in-game. We did do a testing. I will be showing you the videos of the testing as I talk through all this, and you guys can see exactly how close some of these battles really were. Overall, I was super pleased with Huo Qubing, and I think that his performance absolutely will make him a meta commander, but let's dive into some of the reports so you guys can make a decision on it yourself. So, first things first, I do have to thank my good friend Trax. He insta-maxed Huo Qubing, and I have to say, the results were astounding. Now, something you should know about all of these duels is that Trax is VIP 17, so he does have all damage. But additionally, Trax was running no equipment, and neither was I. And all of these duels had Alexander Nevsky with Joan of Arc on my side. This was no equipment, no alliance buff, and all of the buffs remain the same from one duel to another. This was a dual type of testing, which, again, I recognize does not take advantage of some of the other buffs that you might get with other commanders. However, in this testing, my goal was to see bare bones how Huo Qubing compares to some of the existing pairs and who you might want to put him with. So, first things first, let's see how our baseline duel tests out. As we all know, Nevsky Joan is the current cavalry meta in the game. If you disagree with that, let me know in the comment section below, but I thought this was a pretty fair test to start out. As you can see, I mentioned Trax had VIP 17, so he does have that all damage buff. He also had a better city skin than I did, and as such, dealt a little bit more damage. This is our baseline. As you can see, 22,000 severely wounded taken, and I lost with 105,000 power lost. This is how we should compare all of our Huo Qubing tests. As you can see, here are the troop buffs, no equipment, and everything is kosher. Moving on to our first test, and as I said, I will be showing you guys the video of this, and you can see for yourself. Here is the report. Alexander Nevsky Joan versus Huo Qubing XY. I was absolutely astounded that Nevsky Joan managed to beat this pair. And the reason for that is that XY has a very quick skill cycle, and Huo Qubing also has a skill that boosts that skill cycle, I believe. So I was really surprised that I won this duel, and that Huo Qubing did not carry. Now, that is all right. This was just our first test, but what this means is that your XY may end up on the bench if you're currently running XY William. So just something to keep in mind as we go through some of these testing reports. Now, swiftly moving on to our next test, we have Huo Qubing and Minamoto. Minamoto is one of the commanders that all of the people who are spending in Rise of Kingdoms seem to have maxed. And I was absolutely blown away by this test. Not only did I lose with taking 149,000 power damage, which compared to Nevsky is almost half plus more, but he really did not take very much damage. He took a little bit less than you see with Nevsky Joan, but this pair would still be in the field, which I thought was really, really insane, considering that Minamoto is a commander that many people already have maxed. So here was that testing. As you can see, 29,000 severely wounded taken and 37,000 severely wounded taken on my end. This pair could be totally viable in the field. If you take a look at, some of the other pairings you might have, you may decide that you want to not go with it. But if you only have Huo Qubing and Mina, that's not a bad duo. Now, swiftly moving on to our next test. I was kind of disappointed with this one. So again, Nevsky-Jones lost, which makes sense because our baseline has Nevsky-Jones losing. However, in this particular test, you can see that Huo Qubing-Jones took less damage than we see with Minamoto. However, it did not deal quite as much damage to me. Yes, you will have more troops remaining, and with Joan, you do get the benefit of that second skill proc and AoE. So there are advantages there. Overall, this duel was fine. In my personal opinion, I would be putting Joan with Nevsky and Huo Qubing with literally anyone else. But just another good, insightful duel. Now for the next one, the one that I was anticipating to be the best duel. And I think that in some ways it was. So taking a look at the power loss here, I lost 145,000 power, which is way more than I did with Nevsky-Jones. However, he lost 89,000 power, which is just about what he lost with Nevsky-Jones there, including for some variation, totally possible that it could have been the same. So this pairing did do better than the existing Nevsky-Jones pairing, which doesn't surprise me at all. And the thing that I do really want to call out here is the kill point differential. He ended up gaining about 140,000 kill points more than I did from this duel. Remember that as we continue to look at these other pairings. Now, the one caveat I will call out. I personally would not want to run Huo Qubing with Nevsky. And the reason for that is Nevsky has great pairings already out of the box. Whether it's you put Nevsky with Joan or whether you put Nevsky with William. I do not think that mixing these two commanders is the best choice if you have multiple marches in the field. The other reason for that is that Nevsky and Huo Qubing both have debuffs that they give to your opponents. And if you take out both of those marches, you lose a lot of that benefit in the field. Additionally, I think there might be a better pairing that you could use, and we'll be getting to that shortly. So, moving on to another test that I've seen everyone talking about, and that is Huo Qubing with Double C. Now, this pairing was really, really interesting to me, and of course, this is using the relic, so just something to keep in mind. But Huo Qubing with Double C did really well. Not only did it take out my Nevsky-Jones and do more damage than the original Nevsky-Jones test, but this pairing actually had more staying power than I believe even Minamoto. So that's something to keep in mind as you're looking at who you might put with him. Additionally here, you see Joan of Arc took 99,000. The differential in terms of the damage taken really is not that bad. And if you look at the remaining troops, which talks about lasting power in the field, Huo Qubing with Double C actually lasted and had as many troops left, almost as many troops left, as Huo Qubing with Nevsky, which makes this one of our top pairings for Huo Qubing. Now, that said, this is Double C. Double C is not a tanky commander in the field. You can run away probably faster than any other march with Huo Qubing because the mobility benefit that you get. However, this is probably not a pair that I would put as an S tier. However, if you have Cao or Cao, and you have Huo Qubing, it's a pairing that you might want to consider. In fact, so much so that I might split Minamoto with Cao and move it to Huo Qubing with Cao. Just something to keep in mind. Overall, I was really pleased with this test in particular. And moving on to our last but not least test, we had Huo Qubing with William versus Nevsky-Jones. And this test absolutely astounded me. William is currently mainly paired with XY, and that is a great pairing. However, it's not terribly tanky, and if you target that march, it's going to die rapidly. And Nevsky-Jones is already one of the best cavalry pairings in the game. I would hate to split them up. And so I was thrilled to see that in this duel in particular, I took more damage than any other duel. However, Trax also took a fair amount of damage. In fact, he took 102,000 power loss, which was more than it was with Huo Qubing and Joan, but not necessarily all that much in the grand scheme of things. The other thing I'll call out here is the power loss differential is not as substantial as it was with Huo Qubing with Nevsky. However, William has an AoE, which is really nice, and that makes it so you get AoE from not one, but two commanders, and you can split your debuffs on a particular march. Now, there is the outstanding question. Who is the best cavalry march in the game? And I think that really depends. As we saw from our testing, Nevsky Joan lost in just about every single scenario that we saw. And I would think that Huo Qubing Nevsky may be the best single cavalry march in the game for 1v1 combat. However, I think that when we're talking about the best marches that you might want to be running, I would probably put Nevsky Joan with Huo Qubing William as the top two marches that I would run. Now, the other thing that's worth calling out here is the troops remaining at the end of this battle. You had 60,000 troops left in that particular case, whereas you have 63,000 with Double C and 68 with Nevsky. But the amount that you have left with Nevsky Joan was significantly less, which means that even if you're getting swarmed, Huo Qubing William should have enough defense to help make you a little bit sturdier. Now, the other thing I'll call out is this is a max William, but I do expect that people will ask, hey, Shappy, what if I just want Huo Qubing with 5551 William? Which, to my answer, would be, honestly, that is probably a perfectly viable combo. You may lose some of that skill damage, but if we're talking about the best pairs for Huo Qubing, I would probably say Nevsky and then William. I hope that this has been helpful. If you guys do have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all. If you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button right over there, bottom right-hand corner, and hit the bell so you get notified when new episodes come out. Thank you all. Shappy out.